Okay, counters. So, koshering your counter for, you're going to be on the internet now, Julie.
Quickly.
So, koshering your counters depends what your counter is made out of.
Bye.
Okay? If your counter is made out of this stuff, whatever that's called, like the laminate, if it's made out of laminate, you can't kosher laminate. You have to put something on top of your counter. Then you can put anything you want. You can put anything from like this stuff that you line drawers with to something thicker, but you can't kosher laminate. You can kosher marble, natural stone. It doesn't absorb, and it's fine. What?
Granite. Yeah.
And granite. You just pour hot water on it, and it's 100% fine. You can use it. I didn't say anything yet, but when I do, I'll tell you that you can't kosher it. We don't know what it is exactly, halakhically, so they don't kosher that because we don't know for sure.
The plastic.
It's what it is it's like the Israeli type of the Israeli stuff that they use. They take stones and they chop them up into little bits, and then they put them back together and they make counters out of it, and they have all different names for it depending what brand you buy. That is not those we don't know exactly what's in them, so you have to cover those. Those need to be covered unless you didn't use it for chametz. But if it's just your own kitchen, you have to cover them.
Rabbi, I'm sorry, but I don't use it. What I do is kosher it, clean it, whatever, and boil water on it, and then put my countertops on it.
Okay, that's fine, but I'm talking about without a countertop.
Oh.
If you have marble or granite, you don't need a countertop. You can just use it. But if you don't have that, then you need a countertop. Okay, that's the point. All right, your table is.
Can I just ask you?
Yeah.
So if you just pour boiling water, is there a certain period of time you're not supposed to use it before you clean it?
Okay, so if you're actually like with granite and stuff like that, so if you would actually use it and put hot food directly on it, if you would do that, then you should wait 24 hours before you kosher it. If you don't do that, it's just you're doing it to safeguard. In other words, you don't really we have I think granite in our house, and my wife said we're going to get granite because then you don't have to use a pot holder, right? And a pot warmer. But she always uses them because she doesn't want to stain them, right? So I don't think you can, but she always uses them. So in our case, you can just put water on it. But if you actually use it, then you should wait 24 hours. Waiting 24 hours in any area is always good because what happens is, according to the Gemara, waiting 24 hours, food spoils in 24 hours. Right, so the taste of the food that's absorbed into whatever it is you've got becomes spoiled, and therefore at least you literally it's not food anymore, it's garbage. So and therefore it's not chametz, there's nothing. So that's why we wait 24 hours, but then we kosher anyways on top of it.
So you wait for 24 hours and then you pour the boiling water?
Yeah, if you used it for food. Your table is the same rule as your counter. It's the same thing, depending on what you use it for. Everybody says you should always just put a tablecloth on it, all Pesach. Have a milk, have a meat, and just use that. You have to clean your table, make sure there's nothing on it, no food on it, but you can do that. Other things that are in your kitchen, like benchers that you use around food, anything else that you use around food, children's high chairs, all of these objects you have to be very careful with. A children's high chair, you can kosher. One of the rabbis I spoke to said you have to be foolish to try, because by definition, children make a big mess with these things. After you've had a child in a high chair for a year, and you look at it, you can see why. But you'd have to cover the tray that they eat on, right? And you'd have to clean the whole thing, right? You don't have to kosher it because you're not cooking with it. But you have to make sure there's no food on it. Otherwise, you have to come up with another thing for the child to use. Benchers, you should get special benchers for Pesach because none of us are careful with not having any crumbs that go into our benchers more than anything else. Most of us, if you go through the benchers you have and you feel the outside, you can feel the food on them. Even if you clean and you keep a clean house, you're still going to feel it. The same thing applies with Sidurim or other books. You're not supposed to bring any books to the table on Pesach unless you've checked them before Pesach. Right? Checking books is basically you open the book and you allow anything in it to come out. Because many of us, like myself, I get up every Shabbos morning around 5:30, 6 in the morning, and I learn. I use that time to prepare myself because Shabbos is very busy for me. So I have a book at the table, and I drink coffee or I eat something because it's so early. and I'm not careful about it. I can have a crumb in the book, and I found crumbs in the book, so I know I do it. So I can't bring my books to the table for Pesach. I should actually check them all and go through them. So any book that I might use, I do that. I go through the books and I check them for chametz and make sure that there's nothing in it. And I still don't bring it to the table because I don't think I'm that good at it. But you really shouldn't bring books like that. Same thing with toys. Children's toys, you know very well, children do not, right, they do not, they're not good with that. Their hands are dirty, their faces are dirty, everything is dirty. That you have to clean children's toys for Pesach. Right? You actually have to clean them. Not that you don't bring them to the table, you have to clean them because they could be dirty. If you don't have little children in the house, or it's not an issue, it's not magic. It's pragmatic. You can look and see. If in my house we have toys, my grandchildren come to the house, we have to clean them. I know I have to. When my kids were older, I didn't have to. So it all depends. You have to look at what you've got and deal with it that way. Your cars, right? We have to clean our cars. You don't have to clean your cars like a kitchen. You're not going to eat in it, but you have to. The idea of cleaning your car, as it is with much of your other places that you are, where you're not going to eat necessarily, is that you don't want any food in it. You don't want to open your glove compartment and find a candy bar inside, because then you own chametz on Pesach, and you've seen your chametz on Pesach, which each one of those things are Torah laws that you've broken. So you want to check everything. Certainly, you can use it as an opportunity to clean. We often are confused between spring cleaning and Pesach cleaning, and it's not the worst thing in the world. So you want to clean your car. You don't have to shampoo the rug in your car, but if you want to, you can. What you have to do is vacuum, right? Make sure there's no food in it and vacuum. That's basically most of your house, depending on your situation. Unless you have little babies, chances are you're not going to find a lot of food under your couch. You're not going to find a lot of food under your chairs. But we're not careful during the year, so you'll find something. So you have to look. But if you have little babies, you can be assured that anywhere you can find food, you will find food. And that's what they do. That's how children are. And you have to check throughout your whole house in such a way. Kids' rooms as well, right, we have to do, and our clothing. So clothing, you asked right at the beginning. So you don't have to dry clean your clothing before you wear them on Pesach. You do have to check your pockets. One of the things that we do in our Pesach cleaning is checking pockets of clothes. I don't mean that's what I do. That's one of the descriptions that is given in the halachas when it talks about cleaning for Pesach, is that a person cleans for Pesach is different than just cleaning so you can use something. There's an idea of cleaning, searching for the chametz, getting rid of the yetzer hara, of the ego that's found throughout our house. So therefore, we look in our pockets. And I heard a story once, which I didn't believe the story really. It's one of the crazy rabbi stories until I actually saw it happen myself. These people, he didn't check his clothes for chametz. Maybe he tried, but he didn't do it all the way. And it was Pesach, and he put on his kittel for the Seder, right? This nice white kittel, and he reached into his pocket and found a cookie from when he broke the fast on Yom Kippur. So that was right on Pesach at the Seder. So check your pockets, right? We're not careful. There's no reason to be careful all year. So I know I saw it happen. I heard the story. I didn't believe it, and I saw it myself. There are also lots of weird places that you find chametz that you wouldn't expect. Like in our house, we always buy all kinds of funny toys and things to give to the kids. Frogs to throw at them and stuff. One year I bought among the items, I bought a whoopee cushion, right? It sits on it and it makes funny noises, right? But what I didn't realize is that all of these rubber things, including rubber gloves, they use powder in them in order so that, like doctor's gloves, right? Doctor's gloves have powder. So if it's talcum, so then that's not a problem. But it's often cornstarch they use, and cornstarch you can't have on Pesach. So with these, that's what this thing had, and you can tell because after you hit it and the air comes out, so does dust, and that dust is cornstarch that keeps it from sticking. Right? That's why you have to be careful also with when you buy rubber gloves. You should not buy the ones that have powders in them because those gloves can be chametz.
I just want to. Last week you talked about the plate because of the cornstarch. Paper plates are an issue.
Right.
But what about the foam plate?
No, they're fine, 100%.
Okay.
Only paper. Okay, so.
Did you talk about paper towel last week also?
Well, paper towel is a similar thing. I didn't say it specifically. Paper towel is a question of reality. If the paper towels are the expensive paper towels that are made to have a stiffness to it, so then they very well could have starch in it. So the cheap paper towels do not. So when you buy the no-name brands and things like that, there's no stiffness to it. They're softer. They're not as good. The cheap ones like we use here, the brown towels that we use in the washrooms here, those are fine. They're paper. The whole problem is when they put additives for other purposes. So the real issue really only lies with paper plates.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Like the backsplash in the kitchen, now the back of the sink and the back of the stove, are you meant to cover everything with foil?
You should clean it and cover it. Yeah, because by definition, that's what it's there to be save your wall when the food splatters on it, and you can't let your food splatter on it with what's on there, and then it could fall back onto the stove. Then it would be hummus. So that's an important part of the kitchen.
When covering with like tinfoil, do you use tape? Is there a problem with the tape at all?
No, not at all. But we have to keep in mind, we talked about this last week. When we're dealing with objects that we use, there is a law that says you're not supposed to make use of chametz. Not just you can't eat chametz, you can't use chametz. So therefore, there are lots of things that we use, cosmetics and so forth, that have alcohol, and often the alcohol could have some grain alcohol, which would make it chametz. So the letter of the law is that all of those things can be used on Pesach because a dog wouldn't eat it. If you take, as I said last time, if you take your antiperspirant and you put it down on the ground, you break it open, let a dog lick it, they're not going to do it again. You wouldn't do it again either. It's terrible tasting, these alcohols. And if you've ever had the occasion where you tasted a perfume by mistake, you know it tastes terrible. But the custom is that we're strict in this area, and we try to not use those things. So that's why you'll see people buying special deodorants and special things like that. So therefore we try to. But if you can't get something and you need it, you are allowed to use what you have, like your perfumes and so forth. It's preferable to buy other stuff. But if you can't, for reason, you can discuss that with me privately if you have a special reason, then that's the case. The same thing with pharmaceuticals, with prescription drugs. It's preferable to use prescription drugs that are chametz and kitnios free. And but if the doctor tells you to take a drug and there is no other drug other than the one he tells you to take, and there's a specific one that he wants you to take, and it's necessary for you to take this, then you should take it, because the doctor's telling you to, and it's for your health, and because it's not food. Right? That's different than a flavored over-the-counter medicine. Right? That's why I said pharmaceuticals, because over-the-counter often has flavoring in it, like cough syrups and all these things. Those things make it food. By definition, they're food. But if you take any pill that you might be taking, crush it and taste it, and if you'll do it again, then you shouldn't eat it on Pesach. You can't get it on Pesach unless you have to. And I will promise you, you will not taste it again. You'll only taste it once. It's terrible also. Right? That's the idea. So there's, let's see, what else we got? Any other specific questions on these items? Go over? Okay, the bathroom is like as I was just mentioning, that we should go through our bathroom to make sure that there's nothing in there that is actual chametz. What could be? There can be lots of over-the-counter types of things that we take for constipation, for instance, that are literally chametz. There are many things like that. That Metamucil, for instance, these types of things are chametz.
No, but what about the tablet?
So tablets, again, you can only take tablets that are kosher for Pesach unless a doctor tells you have to take this, and there is no other kind. Right? You do not risk your health for this, because by definition a pill is not food. However, over-the-counter drugs and remedies are either can be food because they have a good taste and they're made that way on purpose, or they're chametz and you don't need to take it. Right? Like a lot of vitamins. If you didn't go for a week without vitamins, unless the doctor tells you to take it, you shouldn't really take it. You go a week without taking them because it's not necessary. If it's necessary, don't get me wrong, never go against what your doctor says. If you need it for health, then you take it. If there's no alternative, right? What you do is you take the prescription, you go over to a pharmacy where they have a knowledgeable Jews working there, and you say to them, here's my prescription, my doctor says I have to fill this, do we have any kitnios free or chametz free?
Are Frida products kitnios free?
If they're marked kosher for Pesach, then they're 100% fine.
No, it's okay. I don't know.
Well, I think some are and some aren't. So you have to be very careful with them, because some, we said earlier, an example, the reason why you need kosher Pesach milk is because vitamin D is chametz. Right, that's one example. Also because of what they feed the animals.
Vitamin D is hummus?
Yes. So that's why when you buy kosher Pesach milk and it says there's vitamin D in it, there is no vitamin D in it. There is none.
So Rabbi, I take 3 vitamin D pills a day.
Well, I would suggest that if your doctor doesn't say you have to do
Oh,
this,
no, she put me.
no, it doesn't matter. If you ask your doctor, what would happen if I don't take this for 1 week? And the doctor says that doesn't tell you that you could get deathly ill or it could be unreparable damage.
It's not just where.
Yeah, so then don't take it for a week. Just don't take it for a week.
How about air vents on top of stoves and stuff like that? 'Cause sometimes they
You have to
suck up
clean all
stuff.
that. Yeah. Anything that's going to come in contact with your food, right? With the steam from your food, with cooking from your food, with your any way with your food, you have to make for Pesach.
And general air ducts and stuff? Like,
No, you don't have to do that. Yes.
When we sell our chametz, do we have to specify every single one of these areas?
Okay, selling chametz is one of the pitfalls of our generation. I assure you, our grandparents did not sell their chametz. That wasn't the intent. The intent of selling chametz originally was for people who had beer factories and that type of thing. But I'll just tell you how it works. The preferred way of selling your chametz is that you sit down with me, you go through what chametz you have, you make me knowledgeable of what it is and where it is, and we write down on a paper. And then I acquire it from you using a Jewish legal form of acquiring something. Then I have been made your agent to sell your chametz. That is the preferred way. Now I'll sell your chametz. You don't need to. We can discuss it, but you don't need to know right now exactly how I do that. But you do need to know how you give it to me. There are other ways that work, which is you simply fill out a piece of paper. You say it's going to be in let's say bedroom number 2 in my house on the north side. All of the chametz, it's worth $500. It includes bread and other items, so it's fine. I can do that, take it, and it's acceptable. You go so far is that if any member of our shul does not give me a paper selling their chametz, I just take the entire membership list, I put it into my file, and I sell their chametz, even without them knowing it. Because you're allowed to do something to better someone even without their knowledge. So that way, if any member of our shul, and I only see members because they're on the members list, I can't do someone who's not on the list, I will sell their chametz even if they don't ask me. And that way, they're covered. Right? That's the lowest form of it. So it's a question of how strict you want to be. If you want to be as strict as possible, you need to come in and meet with me and go through a 2-minute process. If you want to be less strict, which is totally acceptable, you just fill out the paper I gave you, and it's 100% fine. Right? The most common thing that we do that's a little stricter than the norm is you fill out the paper, you come and you see me, you give me the paper, I acquire it from you personally, rather than you fax it or you mail it. You actually come and give it to me personally, then you cover all the bases. Okay? That's how we do it. And then we'll sell your chametz for you. We sold last year, I think, like around 700. I did. And what we do here is that we have the rabbis of the community all get together with Rabbi Talbot to buy it, and we all do it together. So you have like this, like thousands of these papers, and they're all attached to each other. We have to attach them all, and then we sell them to one guy, and we just hope that guy doesn't get lost. Right, but that's what we do.
I live in a co-op. You've got lots of them there. Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
What if the person doesn't show up?
It's a problem. Then sometimes you can build in a fail-safe. In other words, that you have to pay for this chametz. What they basically do is that they give you a down payment. A guy will come in and I'll say, I really appreciate your giving me your time. I want to give you $100. I give him $100, and then I go through a process. And say, okay, I'm going to sell you this chametz. It's worth $1 million. All of this chametz, and I want to sell this to you, and you will have to give me $1 million on this date, which is the night after Pesach, at 11 o'clock. Or you come to me at 11 o'clock and say you don't want to, and you will forfeit your deposit of $20 that you give me. So of course he's already ahead 80, right? Because I gave him 100. So he gives me the 20, right? And then after Pesach, if he doesn't show up, he didn't buy it, so he forfeits it. But it's not the best way of doing it. The best way is that he actually comes and tells me this, and we destroy the contract. It's finished, right? And because it's a real deal. We're not playing with them. They may have experienced this before and understand that the end result is that I don't really care if you buy it or not, right? But the reality is, it's a real deal. I explained to him this is a deal. According to Ontario law, he's buying it. According to Jewish law, he's buying it. He is buying this chametz, and the only reason that he doesn't have to actually buy it is because he's got an out. Just like when you buy a car, right? Like there's laws. Like if you sign a contract that somebody wants to sell you windows at your house, you have, I think, 3 days that you can just say, I don't want to do it, and they have to drop it just by you saying that. Same thing here. I tell the guy, you've got 10 days. It's your chametz, right? But in 10 days, if you choose to change your mind, then the deal's off. But it's yours in the meantime.
So any
That's
one of
how we
us
do
come
it.
home after Yontif, after coming to shore, and find him in ours.
Well, I do know a rabbi who does instruct the non-Jew to go to somebody's house and where their chametz is, and you can go and take it, and they'll do it at one house. Like, in other words, he'll set it up. This one person, the non-Jew, can go to his house and open up the cupboard, and that's his chametz. He doesn't have to take it. He can just look at it and leave. But it actually does. Maybe he goes, maybe he doesn't go, but he's instructed to do it.
And how do you choose that person?
Whatever he wants, he tells you.
The non-Jew, how do you choose him? How does he know, you do know how to ask to do this?
Somebody that you know. Like you got the janitor if he's not Jewish. You can have, I know a guy who's got a partner who's not Jewish, business partner. But mostly it's done by the rabbis. I strongly suggest you don't do this yourself, because there's a lot of details you need to know. And if you don't want to be stuck with your chametz over Pesach, because then you can't use it afterwards, right? It becomes a bit of a problem. Okay, we'll stop here. Next class we're going to talk about the Seder. We're going to talk about how to deal with Yom Tov in light of Pesach. We're going to talk about where you're allowed to go after Pesach to buy chametz, where you're not, and why. We'll go some other areas and then take more questions. As you know, you're always able to call me during the week anytime. You just call me and I'll answer your questions. You don't have to wait for the class.